Right now, Governor Tony Evers unveils his highly anticipated biennial budget proposal, what it includes, and Republican reaction straight ahead.
And we have alert days, 3 of the next 5 days, with bitterly cold weather and more snow on the way. Your first alert forecast in just a couple minutes.
I'm 81 right now, so I think I'm probably not going to be doing too much fighting.
But this Madison native is doing a lot of talking in an effort to do something good for minorities.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 10.
And thanks for joining us. We are getting a first look tonight at some of the key statewide issues for the next 2 years.
Governor Tony Evers unveiling his first biennial state budget this evening at an event at the Capitol. We have team coverage on this tonight. Both our political reporters Jessica Arp and Rose Schmidt are at the state capitol. We begin with Jessica with what the governor is including in this budget. Jess?
Well, yeah, we now know that there is a gas tax increase and a change in how schools are funded in this budget, as well as a rollback of some of the laws passed by the Walker administration.
At the end of the day, our budget is about putting people first.
In his first 2-year state budget, Governor Evers says he created an $83 billion spending plan that reflects his campaign promises and citizen priorities.
We cannot afford to play politics with this budget. Folks, the stakes are really, really high.
Evers' budget adds $1.4 billion to schools, expands Medicaid, cuts middle-class taxes, and freezes UW tuition while funding that freeze. But the biggest news in the plan is how Evers handles roads.
We're going to be increasing fees for titles and heavy trucks, and we do have to raise the gas tax. But as I promised all along, we're sure as heck not going to raise the gas tax by $1.
Instead, Evers proposes to raise it 8 cents a gallon, but also repeal the minimum markup on fuel in the state, which he says will cut it by 14 cents.
That means our plan actually makes it possible for you to pay less at the pump than you do right now.
What Evers didn't mention in the speech is that he plans to increase the minimum wage to $9 an hour by 2021 and repeal right-to-work and prevailing wage laws, as well as much of the laws passed in the lame duck session that took powers from the governor and attorney general. Evers did tout his plans to create automatic voter registration and allow driver's licenses and ID cards for undocumented immigrants, and told lawmakers despite their likely opposition, he expects them to compromise.
I think the people of Wisconsin didn't choose us to be divided. They chose us to find it within ourselves, to be united, not in party, but in promise, to serve our state and to do what's best for the people who sent us here.
Now, Evers and his Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes will tour the state tomorrow touting this plan, but at this point it's really an open question of how many of these things he rolled out tonight really can be accomplished in the Republican-controlled legislature. That's where we turn to political reporter Rose Schmidt, who spoke to Republican leaders tonight. Rose?
Yes, well, Jessica, Republican leaders will spend the next several months crafting their own budget, something they say they have no choice but to do. Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald and Assembly Speaker Robin Vos told reporters tonight that many of Governor Evers' provisions will never get approval from Republican lawmakers. The budget proposal includes a long list of ideas that Republicans have long opposed, such as a Medicaid expansion and capping private school vouchers. The leaders tell us that Evers' plan shows a complete lack of regard for the Republican-controlled state legislature.
To me, it's a 1,000-page press release, not a budget. A lot of the items that the governor ticked off, I think, were kind of the greatest hits of the Democrat Party.
The problem in Tony Evers' budget is it just spends too much. It spends way more than Wisconsin can afford. So I think the question is going back and saying, we're going to sit as a caucus, hopefully with our Senate colleagues together, and really figure out what's the best way to spend that $1.8 billion.
Both leaders tell us their caucuses are unlikely to support many, if any, of the tax increases that Evers laid out. Vos specifically says he will not support Evers' proposal to roll back requirements in order to be on Medicaid. The Republican leaders are not saying, though, if there's anything in Evers' budget that they will support, but of course they acknowledge that there are issues where they believe they can find common ground.
Rose Schmidt and Jessica Arp live tonight. Thank you both.
We're also keeping an eye on the weather these next few days. Snow will be returning tomorrow, and that'll be followed up by some more bitterly cold weather. Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti, our first alert forecast from the backyard patio. Gary?
Well, tomorrow's the first day of March, and it's cold enough now, but it's going to get even colder, and that little bit of snow that we expect tomorrow will certainly help keep the cold around. Tonight, there are some flurries that are passing through southern Wisconsin. A lot of what you see on radar is not reaching the ground, but it's possible there still are a couple of flurries out there. Tomorrow, though, more general snow is expected, generally about 1 inch to maybe 2 inches over much of southern Wisconsin. The 3-inch amounts will be more likely closer to the Dells and areas to the north and west of there. And then the heaviest totals of 3 to 5 inches will now be in west central Wisconsin up toward Eau Claire and northwest of La Crosse. But we have alert days in the forecast for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday for bitterly cold temperatures. Nighttime low temperatures between 0 and 10 below zero. Daytime high temperatures between 5 above and 15 above, when the average high temperature should be in the upper 30s. And wind chills could be down as cold as 20 to 30 below zero on some of those mornings and stay below zero for much of the day. Last night we got down to 0 in Madison, but temperatures were even colder to our north and west. High temperatures today were generally in the lower 20s, but not by much, and that's still about 15 degrees below average. Current temperatures are in the upper teens with a few single digits mainly to the north. By tomorrow morning, we should be back into the single digits. Temperatures, though, will climb into the mid to upper 20s tomorrow afternoon with some light snow developing late in the day. That's your News 3 Now First Alert forecast.
Gary, thank you. An arrest warrant has been issued for a Sauk County board member. According to the Baraboo News Republic, prosecutors charged Supervisor Bill Wenzel with 5 felonies for possession of child pornography. Wenzel represents Prairie du Sac. The criminal complaint has been sealed by a judge until Wenzel is taken into custody. All lanes have been reopened after a semi caught fire on the interstate this evening near Janesville. This is near Racine Street. The first calls came in about 5:30. The scene wasn't cleared until about 8 tonight. No word yet on the condition of the driver.
President Trump arrived at the White House tonight after his summit in Vietnam with the North Korean leader ended in a stalemate. The president said Kim Jong-un offered to dismantle the North's key nuclear facility if the U.S. would lift all economic sanctions. Mr. Trump said that was not enough. President Trump said he remains friendly with the North Korean dictator, but it is unclear what comes next. Michael Cohen will return to Capitol Hill next week for more testimony. He made the announcement this evening after his 3rd straight day of questioning. House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff said next week's testimony would be behind closed doors, essentially a continuation of his meeting with the panel Thursday.
The IRS says taxpayers are receiving refunds that are about the same size as last year's, even with the new tax reforms. On average, taxpayers saw about $40 more this year than last year. The new figures take into account refunds given out through last week. Former Packers coach Mike McCarthy has now apologized for his behavior at a high school basketball game. That incident happened Tuesday night at a game between Pulaski and Notre Dame Academy. McCarthy's stepson plays for Green Bay Notre Dame, which lost by 1 point, ending their season. In a video of the incident, McCarthy approaches a referee after that basketball game and is promptly turned away by that official. McCarthy reportedly called an official at Notre Dame Academy to apologize for the incident.
Pop Warner, America's oldest youth football organization, is banning the three-point stance for the 2019 season. The rationale behind the change is to avoid head injuries. Players will no longer be allowed to put a hand down on the field before snapping the ball. The ban covers the 3 youngest divisions, Tiny Mite, Mighty Mite, and Junior Pee Wee. They plan to eliminate the stance for all divisions eventually, but there is no timeline for that yet. A power company on the West Coast says it's probable that some of their equipment may have caused the deadly campfire in Northern California last year. Pacific Gas and Electric Company released a report today. While the official cause of the fire is still under investigation, the company says that it's probable the company's equipment may be named as an ignition point. 85 people died in the fire last November. PG&E filed for bankruptcy last month. The Madison Schools superintendent is responding to recent reports of racism in the district.
In a letter today, Jennifer Cheatham calls the series of incidents involving teachers using racial slurs in the past school year, quote, indefensible, and writes that the White Horse Middle School incident, where an acting principal is accused of pulling out an 11-year-old student's hair braids, especially horrific and, quote, absolutely unacceptable. Cheatham says the recent incidents have pushed the district to move faster on a number of changes, including a new system for reporting racist incidents and training every teacher on implicit bias and racial inequity.
We're beginning to see some of what has been happening here and everywhere. And I want them to know that that every time something gets surfaced, that we're going to act on it.
Boys and Girls Club CEO Michael Johnson applauds Dr. Cheatham, acknowledging the problem, but would like planned solutions to go a step further. Colder temperatures are on the way. Gary's first alert forecast just ahead.
We have a number of young blacks that are doing a number of good things in the city.
He's lived in Madison for most of his life, and he's sharing his story in an effort to make Madison a better place to live for minorities.
Well, I care because half of South Madison is related to me.
That is Dr. Richard Harris, Uncle Rich to some. He's a kind, smart man who wants to see Madison change for the better when it comes to dealing with racism. And he's using his words to do something good for all his brothers and sisters in the city he calls home.
Once you learn how to love at home, it spreads outside the house.
On any given Sunday morning, you can find Dr. Richard Harris here at Mount Zion Baptist Church in Madison. He comes here to learn, be educated, and feel the love shared by everyone here. This is like home for him, a special place where he married his wife Maxine back in 1961. And like this choir, he's using his own voice to spread the love, but in his own way.
I went to Central High School.
For the most part, Madison has been a welcoming home to him, but there are things he wants to change for the better.
On one hand, Madison's a beautiful city. 4 lakes or 3 lakes, whatever it is, and beautiful medical facilities, etc. Has some wonderful people. But what strikes me the most about Madison will be its legacy on racism.
It's been woven into the fabric of Madison since he can recall. In fact, he was about 6 years old when he started to notice the color of his skin.
This was probably about 1943 when it really impacted me. When I noticed when they talked about white and colored, it wasn't black back in those days.
This was the first of many racial awakenings. They're what shaped the man he is today. Growing up in South Madison, he's been in the thick of it, fighting for change in the workforce, in affordable housing, and in schools. This is his legacy.
I'm 81 right now, so I think I'm probably not going to be doing too much fighting because I couldn't find a job in Madison.
But Dr. Harris is doing a lot of talking, and sometimes doing something good means saying something you might not want to hear.
I have a feeling that Madison, Wisconsin is heading for a tremendous racial problem.
So Harris is giving presentations on his book, Growing Up Black in South Madison. It's his way of trying to wake up people to change and the hope a new Madison College campus on the South Side can bring to minorities.
We are using the proceeds from my book, Growing Up Black in South Madison. 50% goes to Madison College in a scholarship that's in my name, the Dr. Richard Harris Scholarship. And I am so proud.
Creating a better future for others in South Madison, those he doesn't know, and the brothers and sisters he can't do without.
My friend Malayla Chikasa would say it takes a village. It takes a number of people, both black and white, who are well-meaning, well-intentioned, who want to do something good in the sense of dealing with racism.
Let us all sing together.
Dr. Harris, thank you for your continuous efforts to do something good. And don't forget, half of all proceeds from his book, Growing Up Black in South Madison, goes to the Madison College Scholarship in his name. You can find his book on Amazon. Now, if you know of someone, a business or organization doing something good, I'd love to hear about it. Fill out a nomination at channel3000.com/do-something-good.
All right, time now to take a look at your first alert forecast as we get ready for the weekend and some cold weather coming our way, Gary.
Yeah, a little bit of flurry activity tonight moving through southwestern Wisconsin, but you can see how rapidly that area of precipitation has broken apart. Skies are actually starting to turn partly cloudy, and that will allow temperatures to drop back into the single digits by early tomorrow morning. But you can see out to the west, the next weather system really hasn't even moved on the map yet, but that will bring us some light snow beginning late tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow night. That'll probably accumulate about an inch or two over much of southern Wisconsin. The 3-inch amounts closer toward the Dells, and then 4- and 5-inch amounts up toward Eau Claire and north and west of La Crosse. That should stay away from us. But the bitterly cold air following that snow, that's not going to miss us. This is Sunday morning at 7 a.m. These are projected wind chills, and you can see we start out at around 20 below zero here in Madison. By Monday morning, we could be looking at wind chills perhaps down to 30 below zero or even a little colder in some spots. And even on Tuesday morning, wind chills perhaps down to the 20 to 25 below zero range, even though air temperatures will probably be somewhere between 5 and 10 below zero. And Wednesday morning, even with low temperatures around zero, we'll see wind chills dropping just below zero, and then after that, we should see an improvement. So we have alert days in the forecast for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Low temperatures between 0 and 10 below zero. High temperatures between 5 and 15 above zero, when our average high temperature should be in the middle to upper 30s, and wind chills at times dropping down to 20 to 30 below zero, especially early in the morning. Live view from Edgewater Skycam in downtown Madison. Pretty quiet out there right now. I haven't seen any flurries around here, at least for the time being. Low this morning, 0. The high temperature at 21. And that's about what our average low temperature should be for this time of year. Right now, we're sitting at 18 degrees, winds out of the west-southwest at 3 miles per hour. Skies are mostly cloudy. Well, as we take a look at the upper air pattern, we will see one more shot of bitterly cold Arctic air. Right now, temperatures are above freezing, mainly down into Oklahoma and Arkansas. Our temperatures in the teens and 20s. But over the next couple of days, this is that lobe of bitterly cold Arctic air that will center right over the southern portion of Canada and the northern portion of the United States. Notice this area of warmer air up basically north of Alaska, where temperatures will be in the 30s north of Alaska, while we'll be looking at temperatures in the teens and 20s below zero. And notice the jet stream winds right off of the North Pole dropping back in. But eventually, as this storm system heads to the south and east, it'll flatten out and maybe develop a storm system for the following weekend that'll be in here for Saturday and Sunday with some mixed precipitation for the following weekend. Look for an overnight low temperature of 6 degrees as variably cloudy skies develop and we see a few breaks in the clouds. Tomorrow, look for a high of 27 as light snow develops in the afternoon. On future track, those temperatures tumble to between about 5 and 10 above zero for tonight. High temperatures tomorrow in the mid-20s, and then you can see the snow moving out tomorrow night. And for Saturday, high temperatures will be in the mid-20s. Again, snowfall amounts about 1 to 3 inches, heaviest amounts north and west of the Dells. 10-day forecast, bitterly cold air for the beginning part of next week, and then a little bit of a warm up toward the end of the next week, and then that storm system out in the Pacific Ocean I was showing at the end of that graphic, that would be in time for Saturday and Sunday.
All right, Gary, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Gary. Coming up next, one former Badger hopes his college productivity carries over into the NFL. We'll head to the NFL Combine after the break.
Former Wisconsin fullback Alec Ingold's the only fullback at the NFL Scouting Combine. But you can call him Mr. Touchdown. He scored every 5.6 times he touched the ball. 21 career TDs in all. Not bad for a guy who played quarterback in high school, was set to play linebacker at Wisconsin, moved to fullback, and the rest is touchdown history. Fullback, not the flashiest position in the game, but Ingold's not worried about flash.
Fullback is kind of dying off a little bit, but the ones that are sticking around really make an impact on their teams. So I feel like being able to influence a game with a few amount of reps is really what I'm trying to do. You know, that's what I did my whole career at Wisconsin, so just carrying that all the way through to the NFL.
The Verona boys hockey team was one game short of playing for the state title last season. This year, they say they have the personality to make it one step further. Personality, or swag, as we like to call it in the business. Taking on Eau Claire North in the quarterfinals. Tied at 1, Ryan Meerwald going to find Walker Hasig. The 20th goal of the season. Verona up 2-1. They weren't close to being finished. 4-1 now. A North power play. Matt Kierlich doesn't care. Oh, shorthanded goal. Verona wins 5-1. They'll get University School of Milwaukee tomorrow at 4 in the semifinals. There's something to be said for playing well at the right time. The Wisconsin men trying to get on a roll to close out the regular season. Penn State started a little early. They're 5-12 in the conference, but they've won 3 in a row, including a blowout of Maryland last night. The Badgers beat Penn State comfortably in State College, but a lot has changed for both teams since January 6th.
We know that it's not going to be a rollover game at all. You know, we kind of played really well and got out to a lead at their place, and we're going to have to do the same thing if we want to come over and win.
We got to be locked in right from the start. There's got to be that sense of urgency. You know, the game's all about momentum, and they got a lot of momentum going right now. So we got to make sure that we start out fast and just play our game.
Michigan hosting Nebraska. Jim Harbaugh taking a little hoops. Jordan Poole cleared for takeoff on the break. The flush, the foul. Take another look. Wolverines win easily over the Huskers, 82-53. They're 14-4, second place in the conference. The Wisconsin women hosting the Ohio State, trying to close the home schedule with a win. They trailed by 13 at the half. Marsha Howard trying to lead a comeback. The senior buries the 3. She had a team-high 15 points. Imani Lewis cleaning up on the inside. She goes glass for 2. She had 9 and 7. But too much Buckeyes down the stretch. Carmen Grande drives, hits, scores. Buckeyes win 61-50, dropping the Badgers to 4-13 in the conference. Spring training, Brewers hosting the Giants. Yet another picture-perfect day in Maryvale. Lorenzo Cain, Christian Yelich, both played today. They started, combined 1 for 3 with a single between them. Lorenzo Cain, midseason form on defense, taking extra bases away from Austin Slater. How about Eric Kratz, 38 years young, still going. Over the batter's eye in dead center. Those are the only Brewers runs. The Giants win 6-2 the final. Stick around for a final break, and then we're back.
There is the 10-day forecast. Some snow tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night, maybe an inch or two, and bitterly cold weather for the beginning of next week, and maybe a storm toward the end of next week.
Gary, thanks. Thanks for joining us for News 3 Now at 10.
Do something good, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.